You're listening to episode 37 of the TA Pedals podcast. I'm Tristan.
And I'm Stephon. What's up, witches?
Oh, you did a thing. So that's what we're talking about today. Witches.
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 Have you ever seen the movie The Witch?
Nope.
You should watch it. It's crazy.
I don't know if I can.
You don't really like spooky stuff.
I mean,
spooky movies, right?
I like spooky stuff. It's the horrifying things.
Oh, yeah.
Like the things that are I don't know how to explain it. Like movies that depict things that they're still within the realm of possibility.
Oh, right.
And so like those are the ones that freak me out the most because like they're the closest to what can actually happen.
Right.
You know, I like last week we were talking about the movie Paranormal Activity and how that is. I had to go buy it so that my daughter could watch it. And she was just as scared as I thought she was going to be. Like she was like huddled up in the chair, like, you know, like everything that was going on, she was just like glued. And the end, like like whenever the main character throws Mika or whatever his name is across the room, and then she like walks over and starts sniffing him, like she immediately shut her eyes. And so like the ending, whenever like she like comes at the camera and her face changes, like she didn't even see that part and she was still scared. Like she was so scared she couldn't even watch that part. Like, and it's just crazy. Yeah,
I was thinking about how she was going to react or how I thought she was going to react, and you know, her saying like, oh yeah, like I like when creepy stuff happens, and I'm like, not for long.
Yeah,
be thinking about that movie every time now.
Yeah, like my wife had to go, you know, light some sage and run around the house with sage just to, because like
which I'm picturing that, by the way. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, I mean it's there is some humor to it, but at the same time it's like these kids were so scared.
Yeah,
like,
if it made them feel better, like, that's all that matters.
I think it did. And like the thing is like it, like during the movie, like while the movie's in, it was before like the really crazy stuff started happening. So my wife and my youngest daughter, they weren't watching it. My youngest daughter is 11 and she's still a baby. Like she can't handle scary stuff at all. So like they had the idea to like come and sit in the dining room and like throw stuff while we were watching the movie to try to scare them and you know, like that kind of silly stuff, you know. Anyway, they left, and like when the crazy stuff started happening, like you could hear like noises, like door creaking, like in outside of the movie, but not so far away that where they were at. You know what I mean? Like in the kitchen,
don't like that.
Like in the kitchen or dining area that is directly adjacent to the living room, and there's only one door that it could have been making that noise, and it was the pantry door, and it wasn't even moving, and you could still hear like creaking door noises, and it wasn't coming from the movie, and it was just like there was like little like weird little like staticky scratchy noises coming from somewhere, and it was just like it was already freaking them out because of the movie, and then on top of it they like you have to keep looking behind you trying to figure out what's this other noise I'm hearing. So it was just like an all around like creepy experience. So the sage cleanse, you know, helped them, you know, put their mind at ease and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, so like The Witch, I don't know if I'm gonna watch it.
It's a slow burn. Like there's no jump scares.
Yeah.
It's just terrifying in a different way, and
Yeah.
that's why I like it. So I have a theory about how this works that I would like to kind of talk about, but first I want to know what you think about like witchcraft, and how do you think mechanically, I guess, or practically, how would that work? Like if a witch were to want to cast a spell on someone or whatever, how do you think that would work if it were to be real, or if it is?
Now for me, like I do believe that there's a certain type of energy that flows, in between everything. And the idea that that you would be able to manipulate that is not outside of the realm of possibility. And so given that maybe witchcraft, can have some sort of properties to where, like knowledge passed down or whatever, that kind of situation, where they're able to manipulate that in some ways. But I think mostly witchcraft is preferring to like giving off a certain intent. Like I want this thing to happen and I'm going to will it to happen out of thin air. I think that's a lot of what witchcraft is. And I don't believe that there's a good or a bad tied to witchcraft. I think it just depends on what you intend to use it for.
Yeah, that makes sense. I used to like, like my spiritual background and stuff. And I used to think that like witchcraft was just like a bunch of hocus pocus and, like whatever, quite literally, I guess.
Movie reference.
Yeah. But like when I started thinking about how it could work, like I guess my thoughts on it are like, if I believe spirits exist, and normally, if you're doing witchcraft, you're going to be dealing with demons or whatever. And so I got to thinking about it, and like I was thinking about, like the burning of sage or candles, or burning different herbs and stuff like that. And like, why would that matter? All these things, I was trying to piece it together. And I guess like what I kind of came up with, like as far as a theory goes, would be when a witch performs a ritual, they would be calling upon a spirit to do their bidding. And that spirit is not bound by like physical limitations. Mm-hmm. And so they would be able to perform tasks that that person wouldn't be able to affect by themselves. And maybe the burning of herbs and the setting of, different ritual objects and stuff would provide an environment that would be more conducive to communicating with that spirit. And so that's kind of like how I think things work, is that like when you're doing a spell, you're casting a spell, you were calling upon an entity to perform or to manipulate a situation.
Yeah, a specific task.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I think that, I mean, I don't think that a lot of people, like even who believe like I do, think it through that far.
Yeah.
But I think that that is kind of how people who believe the way that I do kind of interpret things. But like I used to think like the burning of herbs was like kind of silly. And then I was like, well, maybe not though. Like maybe it is putting something in the air, in the atmosphere that allows,
it's more susceptible.
It's more, you're more susceptible to communicating with consciousness from beyond what you normally perceive or whatever.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I think about things. But before I kind of started really thinking about it, I thought it was just kind of silly and you were just wasting your time. And then I was like, well, maybe there is something to it, and like you said, the energies that surround things and mm-hmm. tie the universe together through these like, different like dimensional states, I guess you could say, or whatever. Like we as humans may be able to manipulate those things through our mind, because they've done tests and stuff about, like with MK Ultra and things like that, of what effect your mind and your thought patterns have on the environment itself. Like maybe we can manipulate those things through thought, and maybe we're just more likely to succeed in willing things into existence through communicating with one of these spirits or whatever, because they're beyond what we have control over.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I think.
I mean, I think that's probably falls in line with what would be considered to be modern day witchcraft.
Right.
You got a cramp.
Oh! I got a cramp in my thigh. I'm getting old. I've been eating bananas like crazy too. I don't know what that was about.
I did not will that to happen.
Are you sure? I think someone's listening in and they're casting a spell on me right now. No, it's because I'm getting old and I don't stretch.
So like witchcraft, before it was considered witchcraft, there are accounts of women, in history, like before, they had the name witchcraft, there were women who did certain, like they would do certain enchantments, and like they would make like a circle with salt and do like a chant inside the circle and to cure ailments, and they would make potions and they would do all kinds of things to cure people, and that's what it was meant to be for. And then at some point in time, you have people coming out of religious backgrounds saying, like this is not right, the Bible says this, or the Bible says that, and so it immediately became something bad, even though what they were doing was helping people. So like I think like there's a lot of accounts that show that like that could possibly be where witchcraft was born, is through the idea that what they're doing is not good in the eyes of the Bible.
Right.
I guess.
I've also heard that, like, I think Christians looked at people who were worshiping Dionysus, which is, pretty much party god, and they saw them out in the woods performing rituals and getting extremely drunk and like babbling and, whatever. And they were like, oh, those people are possessed. Like they're possessed by evil spirits. So they're witches or whatever. So like there's so many things throughout history that religious groups of people have labeled as like witchcraft or, whatever, especially things that originated from like paganism. And yeah, I don't know. Like there's like so many different versions of witchcraft and witches from different cultures. There's like in the Middle East, there's, the idea of summoning jinn. There's, the Salem Witch Trials in America. There's like Nordic paganism, where people were witches, and it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
It's like no matter where you go, there was some form of witchcraft where they were like trying to communicate with spirits, whether that be like demons or angels or nature even, or, ancestors. I don't know. There's a lot. There's a lot to unpack.
There is a lot. There's a lot of different, perspectives to look at as far as witchcraft goes. I think the way the modern world is now, I don't think what witchcraft is today would be considered to be evil, because there's not like there's some people out there doing some extreme things, I'm sure, like the sacrificing and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But like at the end of the day, like their intentions on of what they're trying to do is very rarely to harm someone.
Yeah.
So I don't look down on it is all I'm trying to get at.
Right. I first of all, let me say this. Even though I have my religious background or whatever, and I don't think that like it's necessarily right, like the correct thing to do. It is absolutely a free country, and I would never prohibit anyone from practicing their religion as long as it doesn't harm people, of course. And so, like, I do think it's interesting to see other beliefs and practices come to the light, and for me to have more information about them, because in America Christianity is on the decline. And so like I think that we just reached a point where, like, when they polled people, we were at less than 50% of people saying that they believe the Christian God exists. And that's pretty crazy considering America's history, And so, like, I even have some people in my family who are like semi-pagans. Like, they may even believe that the Christian God exists still, but then they'll have like crystals in their house for healing, or they'll wear an amulet, that they think will help improve their mood or give them luck or whatever. You know what I mean?
Is that considered to be pagan?
It's rooted in pagan belief.
Okay.
Like, a lot of paganism stuff has to do with like Mother Nature and ley lines, and believing that different energies run through different segments of the earth, and by tapping into these energies, you can help yourself in different ways, essentially.
I guess I'm a pagan then.
Yeah. And then like that's where the idea of like white magic comes from a lot of the time too. Like, white magic is like healing, for like giving yourself good fortune, protection, things like that. And then black magic is like, I'm going to negatively affect someone in one way or another, or harm them. So yeah, paganism is like, maybe it's just the people who I'm around, and the people who I've grown up with and stuff, like the circle of people that I can observe. But it seems like paganism is definitely on the rise. And
it's weird that it's called that.
What would you categorize it as? Like the crystal thing specifically?
Spiritual?
Or would you say maybe mysticism?
Spiritual. That's a lot of people who consider themselves spiritual people tend to follow that kind of line of activity.
Yeah, the person that practices kind of those things in my family says that it's like a spiritual thing.
Yeah.
And like, I remember, and it's just kind of strange because it's someone on Sydney's side of the family. And I remember them going somewhere together, and they like traveled and whatever, and they went to like Romancing the Stone, and like Sydney's family was like pretty Christian growing up, and I don't know where all of her siblings and parents, stand now, but they were raised with a Christian background. And so it's just kind of strange to like her, and to me to a certain extent, to hear, like, without any sort of conversation beforehand, like about changing beliefs, because like we're family, and you would think it would come up, but I guess not. But like, they went to Romancing the Stone. She's like, "Oh, I've been looking for one of these crystals because I need, patience or whatever in my life." I can't remember what exactly happened, but she was like, "Hey, I need this crystal to help me." And I just like, not like like, I was trying not to be like disrespectful when Sydney told me this story, but I just like kind of was like, okay. Like, because I specifically with the crystal thing, I don't think that really works on a metaphysical level unless it's like a placebo effect type thing. Like it changes, like you get the crystal for healing and then you change your outlook on life and then you start to take action on that in minor ways and then it kind of changes your path. But like at the same time, if that works for you, go for it.
I mean, there is, to a certain extent, that I would say that's true, but there are some occasions where those things actually do work. I've seen some things about how there was this lady that she would get like these weird spells where she would get extremely lightheaded and pass out, and the doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong with her, and someone sent her a crystal, and she would put it in water, and she would drink a glass of water with the crystal in it 3 times a day, and after a week her symptoms were completely gone. So like I think there is some level of where that kind of stuff does work, you know. I don't know why, I don't know how, but I think there's a certain level of where that kind of thing does work.
Just specifically talking about that instance, but do you think that like maybe her putting the crystal in water was imparting minerals that she was deficient in?
I mean, that's a possibility. That's definitely,
but maybe not too.
I mean, that's definitely a possibility, but it, like a regular crystal, like it, you know, the little white ones, like I mean,
quartz. Well, is that what you're talking about?
You know, like the typical white crystals that like people mostly use.
Oh yeah, those are quartz.
Yeah, I don't.
But yeah,
I don't. You know what? I don't know what's in that. I don't know what kind of stuff is in there. But does your body need the stuff that's in there? You know what I mean?
I don't know.
See, like it's like one of them things. It's just like it's just something that happened,
right? Yeah.
And you kind of have to decide what you want out of it.
Yeah.
Just like anything else.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I mean, do you think that? I don't know. There's just so much to talk about, but like I can't remember what it was, but Sydney and I recently watched. It was like I think it was shout out Coffee House Crimes on YouTube. Have you ever watched Coffee House Crimes? They just do like murder mysteries and stuff, and we watched one where he was talking about I think it was the band Mayhem. Do you know about that band? It was like a 3-piece, like I think Swedish like death metal band, and they were like super into Satanism, and they would like burn churches down and talk about like killing people and like all this stuff, and eventually like one of the dudes like really did it. But I think I'm trying to get it straight because I can't remember, but I think that one of the guys ended up like doing some like spells and stuff with some girl or something. I might have 2 completely different stories mixed up, but like, yeah, I watched something recently where like you write down like what you want like on a piece of paper and then like say this like incantation and then like burn it and, you know, stuff like that. And like that kind of stuff, I'm like, I'm really skeptical about it, but it's also interesting to me.
Yeah.
Because it's like I want it to be real. I want there to be some supernaturality to, you know, our mundane life.
Yeah.
But
I think that kind of ties in, you know, with what we were talking about earlier, how like they're making their intent clear and they're putting it out there and willing it to happen. You know what I mean? Like you have it, obviously, you know, the more people you have with the same intent, like the more powerful it's going to be. And I think that, yeah, it definitely ties in with witchcraft, you know.
It's pretty weird stuff.
Yeah.
So we can't talk about witches without talking about the Salem Witch Trials.
I don't know much about the Salem Witch Trials, but I know enough, I guess. Could definitely talk about it.
Okay, cool. Because that's kind of a big deal, like an American,
That's the American Witchcraft Trials.
Exactly. So I'm just gonna, for sake of getting everything very clear, I'm gonna read off of Wikipedia, because I don't want to get my facts wrong.
Go for it.
It's weird enough on its own without me making stuff up.
Yeah.
It says the Salem Witch Trials were a series of hearings and prosecutions of people accused of witchcraft in colonial Massachusetts between February 1692 and May 1693. More than 200 people were accused, 30 people were found guilty, 19 of whom were executed by hanging, 14 women and 5 men. One other man, Giles Corey, was pressed to death after refusing to enter a plea, and at least 5 people died in jail.
Pressed to death?
Pressed to death.
What does that mean?
I'm assuming, well, actually, let me just click the link. And death by crushing or pressing is a method of execution that has a history during which the techniques used varied greatly from place to place, generally involving placing heavy weights upon a person with the intent to kill. There's also a sub category of that called crushing by elephant.
Golly.
So I guess they just smashed him with heavy stuff.
What gives anyone the right to execute someone because of what they're,
Well, I think so. There's a theory, and this is nuts. Okay, like actually, you know what? I'm gonna say
there's nothing in the Bible that says if you come across a witch, you should execute them.
I can't think of anything. I mean,
I seriously doubt it. There's nothing in the Bible that says if this happens, you should kill it.
Well, that's not true.
Okay, but give me an example.
You put me on the spot, and I got other things on my mind. I'm trying to remember. There is definitely something that says like if this happens, take this person into the center of town and stone them to death. I mean, it's messed up. We don't handle things like that anymore, of course. But the Bible, I can't say the Bible doesn't say anything about this. Like, because I'm just, I'm drawing a blank right now.
Okay, well, let's finish the Salem. Let's do the Salem, because there's just like all kinds of stuff going on.
Yeah, especially the Old Testament Bible was brutal.
Yeah,
brutal. So anyway, but I do know about something that is kind of crazy that will maybe shed some light on why they wanted to execute these people. Okay, I'll have to look it up so I get my facts straight. But essentially, yeah, it says the episode is one of colonial America's most notorious cases of mass hysteria. It has been used in political rhetoric and popular literature as a vivid cautionary tale about the dangers of isolation, religious extremism, false accusations, and lapses in due process. So yeah, pretty crazy stuff. There's so much tied in there. But one thing that I remember reading about, I'm going to look it up. So one reason that they thought these witches were like casting spells on them and stuff is because of the presence of, I believe it's a fungus. Yeah, a fungus called ergot. Do you know what ergot is? Ergot, I'm going to have to Google this too, dadgummit. So ergot is a fungus. It says that it may grow on rye and related plants and produces alkaloids that can cause ergotism in humans and other mammals who consume the grains. Okay. Ergotism.
Golly, we're going down a rabbit hole.
Yeah, we are. We got plenty of time. Ergotism is poisoning produced by eating food which is affected by ergot, typically resulting in headache, vomiting, diarrhea, gangrene of the fingers and toes. Okay, so they've done historical records of like the crop production of that year, because I believe ergot likes to grow when it's like colder outside or something, and so these farmers were growing like wheat and
Other farm stuff.
other grains. And they think that the year that they were conducting the Salem Witch Trials, there may have been a high production of ergot on the grain. And so everyone was eating the grain and getting headaches and vomiting and getting really sick. And so they were looking for someone to blame, kind of like what you said before, because they were all getting sick in the same ways. And so they started accusing people. And like it just puts a whole different spin on like why they thought these people were witches. Like what was happening to make them think that these people were cursing them. And it could have been an increased production of ergot on the crops from that year.
But like at the same time, like why were those specific people accused of witchcraft? You know?
Well, because
like what were they doing? What were they doing to merit such strong beliefs?
let's check that out too.
Because you could literally just walk up to anyone and be like, "Oh, you're a witch. You're the
I
reason
think that's
why
pretty much how it went.
you're the reason why we're all throwing up."
I've had diarrhea for a week, Nancy. Time to die. Let's see. Well, so the thing is, like what we just said was there was a lack of due process. So I don't think that there is going to be a good answer. I'm looking for it right now, but I don't think there's going to be a good answer because I think that they were just like, oh, hey, that lady's not sick. She must be responsible. She hasn't had diarrhea. I got diarrhea. Let's kill her and see if that fixes it.
Think of like witchcraft. Like it just you think about it and it's just like it's complete stupidity. not I'm not saying witchcraft is stupidity, but like this whole situation that we're discussing right now is complete stupidity. Like first of all, okay, if a witch is causing this, what reason do they have? What motive do they have to kill off the whole freaking town? You know?
So
like,
yeah, you're right. You're right.
It's just crazy. Like no one ever is going to have a good enough motive to kill off a whole town slowly by poison.
Okay, so I think I might have one answer for why. This is from the Smithsonian magazine. It says in January of 1692, Reverend Paris's daughter, Elizabeth, age 9, and niece Abigail Williams, age 11, started having, quote, fits, end quote. They screamed through things, uttered peculiar sounds, and contorted themselves into strange positions, and a local doctor blamed the supernatural. Another girl, Ann Putnam, age 11, experienced similar episodes. On February 29th, under pressure from magistrates Jonathan Corwin and John Hawthorne, the girls blamed 3 women for afflicting them. Tituba, the Paris Caribbean slave, Sarah Good, a homeless beggar, and Sarah Osborne, an elderly, impoverished woman. All 3 women were brought before the local magistrates and interrogated for several days, starting on March 1st, 1692. Osborne claimed innocence, as did Good, but Tituba confessed, "The devil came to me and bid me serve him." She described elaborate images of black dogs, red cats, yellow birds, and a black man who wanted her to sign his book. She admitted that she signed the book and said there were several other witches looking to destroy the Puritans. All 3 women were put in jail. So, I mean, I guess that's why. I guess, like, the girls, these, like, people started getting sick. The doctors were like, it's the supernatural. And one woman was like, oh, yeah, I made a deal with Satan. And so they were like, oh, you're all guilty. And so, like, I guess whenever other people started getting sick and experiencing the same symptoms, they probably chalked it up to witchcraft and put them on a very minimal trial. And, like, throwing them, I've read they threw them in water tied to rocks, and they said if they live, they're a witch, and if not, they're dead. So either way, we're good. And yeah, I guess they just
So like
decide to execute them.
Pretty much anyone who got sick just like named someone, and that person probably was going to end up dying.
Probably. Yeah.
So stupid.
It is stupid. But like you have to kind of put yourself in the mindset of those people back then too. Like it's stupid to us. And I would like to think if I went back in time that I would be very similar to how I am now and think the same way. But like when you're caught up in all that and you're ignorant and you're not very well learned and the internet, didn't exist and we didn't know about all these things, maybe it would be easier to believe that and even jump on the bandwagon and say like, yeah, we got to fix this problem because my family's dying.
Yeah, I would probably end up getting killed because I'd be the guy like minding my own business. Like, y'all obviously got something going on. I'm going to mind my own business over here. And they're immediately going to think that because I'm doing that, I'm a witch.
Yeah, probably. But it's very like, early like American Christianity, like the Puritans and stuff. It was very culty.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, even more so than now, like Christianity has kind of a strange history in America.
Yeah. I mean, there's a story, isn't there a story in the Bible in I think Samuel, about a king who got rid of all the witches and then he was going to go into battle or something and decided, like, hey, I need to find a witch to help me summon a prophet or something like that.
I have no idea. I've never read that, but it's a big book,
Yeah. Well, like there's, I'm paraphrasing out the butt, but like, he banished all the witches, killed off however many witches, whatever. And like he was going to war and he was going to this battle and he wanted to know how the battle was going to go for him. So he was like, find me a witch. So he travels to the witch. She summons this prophet that he wants to talk to. Don't remember the name, but it doesn't matter. The prophet told him you were going to die at the battle. He died at the battle. And that's what happened.
And that was that.
Yeah. I mean, it's like witchcraft is bad, but also like use it if you need it.
Beats me. I think that like modern witchcraft is like, I don't know how to explain it.
It's
like,
good. It's fine. Do what you want.
Well, that's not what I was going to say. I do not condone witchcraft, but that's okay too. I just got to put that out there. I would say it's the most interesting version.
You don't
most advanced.
You don't condone it, but you don't care who does it.
I wouldn't say that either. What I would say is, I don't think not caring is a good way to say it. What I would say is, I would never prohibit from someone practicing their religion if they're not hurting someone else. I don't want anyone doing that to me. I wouldn't do it to someone else. It's a free country. Just like I think you should be able to put whatever in your body that you want to put in your body if you're not hurting someone else. I think you should have full autonomy if you're not infringing on someone else's rights.
What if you eat something and and it produces gas and you fart and it does hurt someone else?
What are you talking about?
Talking about like, you know how like sometimes
like farting cyanide is that what you're talking about?
You fart something and it's like a deadly fart. I don't know.
I'm like 99.999% sure no one's ever died from a fart. If that were possible, I probably would have killed so many people already.
Which
I'm practicing the black farts.
Oh my Lord.
Not the black arts, the black farts.
Yeah.
Anyway, What I was actually gonna say was like I think that like modern like witchcraft is probably the most interesting from a religious standpoint because like there's so many different things throughout history that have culminated into like a few different segments of that religious belief, I guess. And like there's so many like pop culture references and stuff. It just makes for like a rich background and like surrounding lore, I guess. And it's become pretty integrated into our society. Like there's even, there's the Satanic Temple now, which I know is not directly akin to witchcraft, but like kind of.
I mean,
know what I mean? Like that's a thing
in
now.
in a certain version,
Right.
Satan can be tied to witchcraft, but
Oh,
I don't.
for sure. But I just mean like the
I don't
temple
ne-
itself and the people and how they practice. It's not necessarily witchcraft, but some of it is. And I just never would have thought like growing up because in America when like especially in the 90s like um Christianity was so prevalent and stuff. I never would have thought that I would have seen the day that there was like a public satanic temple that was like active in like politics and like things like that. And it's pretty crazy.
I just got to be honest. The first time I've ever heard about this.
Oh, really? They try to do like good for people. Like they really try to like help people and like curb policy in ways that benefit people. But it's true.
Satanic Temple?
Yeah, like as an organization.
Like is
they'll
it like protests. A religious organization?
It is and isn't. Like it's kind of to make a point. Like to a lot of people, it's just like, hey, like if you're going to have the 10 Commandments there, then we want this Baphomet statue there. And that's freedom of religion.
Mm-hmm. Or, I mean, technically, we have freedom of religion laws in the United States. And so it shouldn't matter what your religion is.
Well, exactly.
You should be able to practice it.
And that's their point. That's their point is like, hey, like if you're going to do this, like if Christians are going to do this, then we're going to do this. But a lot of the time they also like will rally for women's rights or they'll rally for just different like social issues. So it's not exactly like you go there to worship Satan, but I'm sure some people do because it is a satanic temple and they have statues of Baphomet and whatever, but it's everything in between as well. It is a religion also not.
It's a religion for the people, for the betterment of humankind.
Yes, but not all
necessarily
people.
Satan.
Yes, but also, like, okay, so like in Christianity, like the view of Satanism is like self-worship because that is the view of Satan is like he wanted to be like God. He wanted to self-glorify and like you're the master of your own life and path and reality. And like that's kind of where a lot of like Satanists fall. Like they don't believe that Satan is like an actual entity. It's just the principle of like, I am the God of my own reality and I get to shape my path. And then they like try to influence social behavior and stuff for the betterment of humanity. But then there are also people who are involved with the Satanic Temple and stuff who do think that, Satan is a real entity and that he is much more moral and good and whatever, than God. And so they're going to worship him instead or whatever. So like I said, it's everything in between. The Satanic Temple and people who believe that way in like Satanism can either be completely non-religious and like their religion is just like, this is my reality and it is what it is. Like I'm the natural world.
I'm in control of my own person and
exactly. That's it. Exactly. And then there are the religious people.
When you talk about that, there's really only one thing that comes to mind, and it's literally because they're going to be close by soon. I think October 24th, Highly Suspect is going to be playing.
Oh, yeah? You love them.
In Northwest Arkansas, and they have that song, My Name is Human, and that's literally what it talks about.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm my own God, and I only believe in myself.
Right.
That's what that whole song is about. And so like I think that's kind of how that ties in a little bit. Anyway, Highly Suspect is going to be playing. I don't remember where. I know it's in Northwest Arkansas, but it's probably going to be a pretty cool show.
Yeah.
I like that band a lot.
They do some really cool stuff musically for sure. I never really got into them, but I know a lot of people who love them.
Mm-hmm.
Love them. My boss at Hot Topic was like obsessed.
Yeah. Like they have some good songs. They have some songs that are really good, and then I don't know about the rest of them. But the songs that I like a lot.
Whoa.
There's this one song that has a lyric. It says, "You fit me like a glove when I'm inside of you," and I just love that. I love that lyric. I don't know why.
That's disturbing.
It's
I'm gonna have to mark
like,
this episode explicit.
It's just like the person you're with was like perfectly made for you,
right?
Like,
yeah.
And that's what that says to me, and I think that's why I like it so much.
There's the song "Such Great Heights" by the Postal Service. It has a lyric like that, and it makes me cry.
What is it?
Oh,
I've never heard it, so you just have to tell me.
Okay. It says, I'm thinking it's a sign. Hang on. I'm thinking it's a sign that the freckles in our eyes are mirror images, and when we kiss, they're perfectly aligned. And I have to speculate that God himself did make us out of corresponding shapes like puzzle pieces from the clay. Like, that's... Yeah. Makes me want to cry right now. Thinking about my wife. But anyway.
Yeah.
There's
some lyrical geniuses out there.
For real. But anyway, witches. Do you think that there is any credibility to like the ergot thing? Like, because people don't really talk about that. And like, I don't think a lot of people know about it.
If they have evidence that was a thing during that time, then I think it's a very viable option that's what caused everything.
Yeah, I think that I'm trying to remember because this has happened in a couple of different places across the globe. But I think that they like looked back through this, like the seasons and like maybe the almanac, because I think Poor Richard's Almanac has been around for like forever, just like keeping track of the seasons and, things like that. And I think they were able to either they were able to figure out somehow that like during that year, the conditions for ergot production were very high. And I think that maybe they found traces of ergot like in like pottery that was buried or something. I'm trying to remember, but like I think that ergot, if I'm going to look it up real quick. I think ergot, the main thing about it that I didn't mention before, I think it can cause hallucinations. And so like that would be a very like bewitching thing. If you were like living in colonial America, there was no technology, and then you started to get sick, and then you started seeing things. There's no telling what effect that would have on your psyche, I could see someone really truly believing that someone had cast a spell on them. Okay, it says it's a fungus blight that forms hallucinogenic drugs in bread. It says its victims can appear bewitched when they're actually stoned. So it was essentially getting them high. Ergot thrives in cold winter followed by a wet spring. The victims of ERCOT might suffer paranoia and hallucinations, twitches and spasms, cardiovascular trouble, and stillborn children. So, like, all that taken into consideration, if the seasons were right, I think that is probably responsible for the Salem Witch Trials happening. But, like, I think that's, like, a pretty newly formed theory, like, within the last, like, 5 years or something. So even though these people were highly religious and they used that to justify the execution of these people, they really could have been extremely confused. Like, and I think that, you know, again, putting ourselves in that situation, if we had been alive back then, we probably wouldn't have known better either. I like to think that we would, but if you were under those conditions and your psyche was being manipulated by this drug, that you say that you had been harvesting wheat and making bread for 20 years, and then all of a sudden this happens to you, you probably aren't going to suspect the bread, being contaminated with ergot to be the culprit. And then you would start to look for a solution or something to blame. And sorry, but that homeless woman down the street looks kind of suspicious.
I don't know. Like, I can see where you're coming from, but like, it's hard to imagine me not being who I am now. Like, I can imagine like me not having the intelligence that I have, or the ideas that I have, but like, I feel like if it were me in that time, I would still be the same person. I still have the same personality, I feel like. And my personality is, I'm not falling in with what all of these people are doing. I still feel the same. I would like keep to myself, and like, even if I was hallucinating, I'd be hallucinating. I'd just be hallucinating. And like, I probably wouldn't know what was going on, and I wouldn't have an explanation, but I don't want to fall in with these crazy people over here. Like, I've always been, like, I've gone to church growing up, and I liked church growing up, but there's always been this feeling that I have to stay away from it, and I don't feel like that feeling would change if I was 200 years younger or 300 years younger, 400, who knows how long, 400, 350,
like
350 years younger.
Something like that, yeah.
Like, to the day. Isn't it 350?
I think so.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I would like to think that I wouldn't fall for that stuff. But like, if I didn't have the knowledge that I do now, I will say this. I think that my inquisitive nature would, like, if there was a group of people and they're like, hey, she's a witch, and you know it because you've been hallucinating, I think I would still be like, whoa. Like, let's sleep on this. Like, let's like maybe put her in jail, but like let's think about this for a minute.
I mean, yeah, you gotta, there has to have been someone that was like, do y'all know what you're doing?
Right.
Are you guys thinking,
like, are you sure?
You guys sure you want to do this? Like, whoever did that probably is dead. Probably died from fire or something.
Yeah, they probably were like, oh, you're in on it, huh?
Exactly. Like, that's why I say, like, I probably would have just like let them do what they're doing and just kept to myself. I feel like that's probably what I would have done.
Yeah.
But you probably would have been the first one to go.
I probably would have.
Like, what are y'all doing? Maybe y'all should think about this.
Right.
Well, you're next.
If we kill her now, there's just no way to like unkill her. Like, if we figure out what's going on later,
well, that's the devil talking,
right? He's casting doubt in your mind.
You must have signed his book too,
right?
Oh, Sonny, that's why you ain't sick,
right? Like, no, It's just crazy to think that like a chemical could be responsible for so much,
But isn't it?
I mean, in a
If
certain
you
way,
look back
kind of,
at
yeah.
a lot of things, there's some sort of chemical that has caused a lot of things to happen.
Hitler was on meth, and so were a lot of Nazis. It's crazy.
Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess no.
LSD, acid.
But I guess like the difference for me, like why it's so crazy is because those are like man-made substances, and this was like the byproduct of a fungus growing one particular year because the conditions were just right, and then they made bread with the wheat, and it's like what are the odds of that? I guess not that good.
Well, I mean,
We haven't had any more witch trials.
probably because they're like, everyone was so shunned for what they did. Like, let's not repeat this mistake.
They killed like 200 people, and then they figured it out, and they were like, oh, whoops. That's fine. Anyway.
My bad. Well, there's certainly a lot more stuff we could talk about, but we're pulling up on time, so I think this is probably a good time to end it.
Yep, I think you're right. And I'm glad we're doing all these spooky episodes. It's cool. This one was fun.
If anyone has any suggestions on what we should talk about next, please give us a response, because we're kind of running out of ideas here.
Yeah, we were like considering all of the monsters, ghosts, like all that stuff that we could talk about. And we even contemplated mummies. And I was like, I don't know. Like, that's a good one, but like, I don't know.
Well, the thing is like, mummies doesn't feel like a full episode.
Exactly.
And it kind of ties in with zombies a little bit.
Yeah.
So
we
like,
did that.
we can't really, go back. So like, we got werewolves and vampires, ghosts, zombies, witches. Like, what else is there?
Yeah.
Give us some ideas. If you don't, who knows how next episode's gonna go.
Yeah, that's so true. Well, thank you guys for listening to this episode, and we'll talk to you next week about something on episode 38, and bye.
Also look out for that next clue.
Oh yeah. Clue number 2 coming out, or already came out, I guess. But if you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's the second part of the story of. Well, I'm not going to spoil it. You'll just have to go look at it. It's on our Instagram. Check it out.
It's the second part of our pedal giveaway story.
Yes. There we go. Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye.